running through everything you need to know about the marathon. Anyone who has observed the Olympics will likely be familiar with an event called the marathon. This grueling running race is 42.195 kilometers km long, meaning that it really tests human physical endurance. Let's run through everything you need to know about the marathon. If you think the race sounds lengthy, you should look at its history. In 490 BC, the Greeks and Persians were in the middle of a steady conflict. The Persians had attacked a place called Marathon in Greece. Luckily for the Greeks, they were able to beat the Persians. Then came a soldier named Phidippides. Stories say that Phidippides ran around 40 kilometers to Athens, and that upon announcing the Greek victory, he dropped dead. This sealed his place in history books. When the modern Olympics were started in 1896, the organizers wanted an event that would be popular with everyone. They chose the marathon possibly because it shows the challenging nature of the Olympics. The race was to be 40 kilometers, the distance that Phidippides ran. However, this changed to 42.195 kilometers for every Olympic Games from 1924.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Mike.
I'm Chickling.
And I'm really tired.
Oh, really? What did you do?
I read an article about running a marathon.
But you were just reading it.
It's already making me tired.
Oh, okay.
Yes, just reading about the idea of people running this far makes my legs hurt, I can't catch my breath, and I'm super tired because I have never run a marathon. Have you?
Me either.
Do you know anyone who has?
I have a lot of friends that
Really?
do that. Yeah.
A lot of friends.
Sporty friends, yes.
Ugh.
And they all look like really fit and
They sound
muscular.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I've always admired people who've done this, but I've never really wanted to do it myself. Have you?
Either. No, I haven't.
Anyway, people do it. It's been very popular, at least for a few 100 years or so.
Maybe.
But even though the first person to run a marathon did it 2,000 or more years ago, and we're going to learn all about that in our article. So let's check out running through everything you need to know about the marathon. All right, so the article begins, anyone who has observed the Olympics will likely be familiar with an event called the marathon. Absolutely. It is, as far as I know, the last event of the Olympics.
Last one?
Usually it's on the very final day. Yeah, and they
okay.
often finish it, I think, like hours before they do that big closing show party. I think it is, yeah. They might have a few things afterwards, for gold medals and whatnot, but I believe the marathon, because it is so big and so famous, and of course they have to shut down the city often to run through the city streets, it's often the final event of the Olympics, as you would know if you've observed the Olympics. To observe something is to watch something, but closely. You're not just looking at it because hey, wow, look at that. That's cool. No, you're watching it closely. Your brain is engaged. You're thinking. You're taking notes. You're learning things, okay? So that kind of thing is more than just looking at something, more than just watching something. Even if it's your favorite movie, we wouldn't say, I observed my favorite movie, because we wouldn't use it that way. It would be more like observing a strange person who might be a bad guy, or observing animals in the wild.
It's all about the details,
It's about the details, and it's about carefully watching while using your brain at the same time. Here's an example. The scientists observed a family of dolphins swimming near their boat. And they immediately didn't go, oh my God, I got to put this on Instagram. No, they were probably like, oh, look, and there's 2 females and a young male and 2 young, that kind of thing. They're looking at it and learning things while watching.
所以 observe 就是观察、注意的意思，它的名词是 observation。我们可以说这个嫌疑犯现在是被观察中 ，the suspect is being kept under observation. 那我们刚刚讲到的字 marathon 就是马拉松，所以任何看过 Olympics 的人一定会熟悉以上叫做马拉松的赛事。
This grueling running race is 42.195 kilometers long. That's very precise. Almost just over 42 kilometers, meaning that it really tests human physical endurance, okay? And to drive 42 kilometers in a car would take you up to an hour maybe, depending on the traffic. Well, if you're in the city, so it's quite a distance. And imagine doing that on foot. It is very much a test of human physical endurance, or just another way of describing it would be grueling.
Grueling 就是精疲力尽的，让人家觉得很艰辛的，所以我们可以拿来形容一个活动啊，是很让人精疲力尽的。You can say a grueling event 或者是 competition or work 都是让你很艰辛的。And we also saw kilometer, right?
That's right. We saw kilometer. Grueling, just kind of like tough, hard, difficult.
Yeah.
Kilometer. I could run a kilometer. That wouldn't be too grueling. I don't know about 42. Because a kilometer is not that far. It's 1,000 meters. You could walk a kilometer in about 15 minutes or so. Not too long. It's 1,000 meters. The kilo means 1,000 and meter is a distance. Here's an example. Did you know that Taipei 101 is more than half a kilometer tall?
Yes.
It's 508 meters. So that's just
tall.
over half a kilometer. That's right.
So kilometer 就是公里哦。那我们可以说，比如说走多久啊？比如说我走3公里好了。She walks 3 kilometers to work every morning. 每天早上走3公里 That's actually a lot. Like when you get up.
Good exercise.
Yeah, 但是我们刚刚有看到 physical， 这个就是身体上或生理上的。还有另外一个字 endurance， 这个是耐力。可是老师刚刚说 endurance. I think there's two types of pronunciation. 2 ways to pronounce the word, I think.
Which one?
Endurance
yes.
and endurance.
Endurance. Some people give it more of a J kind of sound.
I think it's the British.
Endurance and endurance.
I say endurance.
I would say endurance, probably.
Yeah.
A little bit different. And we should also point out kilometer. Some people would say kilometer.
I say kilometer.
Right, yeah. I think a lot of people do. I don't know where the difference is. But if you hear that, it's not wrong. It's just a different way of saying the word. So let's get back to the article. Let's run through everything you need to know about the marathon. I like how they're using run in kind of a double way here. Running through, we see that in the title, and now we're going to run through. To run through something, of course, if you're running through a building or through a tunnel or something like that, running through your house to get your phone or something, that means you're in a building, you're in a place, and you're running. We also use it, though, to mean to talk about, to explain. I'll run through my idea for our new project. Or the teacher ran through the things we would be studying this year in school. So it's kind of to explain in a quick kind of way, giving you the important details, the most useful information, and not spending a whole lot of time explaining things, okay? So I haven't watched the news today. Can you run through what's happening in the world? Just give me a brief description of something so I get the basic important info.
所以 run through 就是去迅速说明或者是查看一件事情，所以今天的文章就是要赶快带我们来了解有关马拉松的所有资讯。
All right, so if you think, the article continues, if you think the race sounds lengthy, you should look at its history. In 490 BC, yes, that's approximately 500 years before Jesus was born, according to, the years that we follow. And so this is like 2,500 years ago. The Greeks and Persians were in the middle of a steady conflict. This was a part of the world in the Mediterranean, which of course we still see fighting in today, sadly. But back then it was the Greeks and the Persians, the Greeks from sort of the European side and the Persians from the Asian side. And they were in the middle of a steady conflict. I guess we could just say that was a long war. It kind of has the same meaning.
所以这个字呢 lengthy 就是非常长的或冗长的，所以你可以冗长的演讲就是 lengthy speech 或者是 a lengthy discussion 就是很长的一个讨论，那它是来自于名词 length 这一个字长度。
All right, it was a steady conflict. As I said, steady could be long, but it just sort of means it's very regular. It's just kind of going on. It doesn't seem to have any problem stopping or, it doesn't sort of get paused or get interrupted at any moment. It just sort of goes on and on. The steady sound of dripping water coming from the bathroom, drip, 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 kept Selena awake half the night. Yeah, that steady sound can be very annoying. And we also had in the middle of. The Greeks and Persians were in the middle of a steady conflict. This is telling us that the war started long before 490 BC and probably ended long after 490 BC. It means they were right, well, in the middle of it. That means there was a lot of stuff before and there was a lot of stuff after. They weren't near the beginning or the end of this conflict.
所以 in the middle of something or doing something 就是忙于做什么事情。那老师刚刚讲的 steady 这个字是持续的意思，不过也可以当稳固稳定，比如说一个稳定的工作，长期稳定的就可以说是 steady job or steady work。比如说 Oliver hasn't been able to find a steady job. He's been floating about for the past year. And we also saw fighting, right?
We saw the word conflict.
Oh,
yeah,
conflict.
Conflict is fighting.
Yeah.
It couldn't be just arguing, like you have a conflict with a coworker or with a family member. You have an argument, a fight, a disagreement. But it can also mean actual fighting, people, hitting each other or shooting at each other or, having a war, that kind of thing. So that is what conflict is. If you want a nice, peaceful life, you'll try to stay away from conflict as much as possible. But it does happen, as the example sentence tells us. The news these days seems to be full of stories about conflicts going on all around the world. It's very, very sad. Yes, there's rarely been a time in human history when there haven't been conflicts somewhere over something.
So conflict 这边是指冲突或者是争端，它是名词。不过我们在美式英文蛮常用动词的哦，它可以说 conflict， 就是跟什么东西相矛盾或冲突，后面可以使用介系词 with。比如说 the original findings conflict with recent findings， 代表说最初的发现跟最近的发现是有相矛盾的。所以如果你觉得马拉松听起来很漫长，你就应该听听它的历史哦。它其实是西元前490年，当时希腊人和波斯人，他们那时候正处于持续的冲突之中。
Back to the article. The Persians had attacked a place called Marathon in Greece. Luckily for the Greeks, it says, they were able to beat the Persians. So this was kind of an amazing victory. Like in the movie 300, it was a small group of Greeks, and they were able to fight off a large group of Persians. No one expected them to win, but they did. It was a big victory for the Greeks. It says, then came a soldier named Phidippides.
所以波斯人呢，其实就是袭击了希腊一个叫做马拉松的地方。但不是对希腊人来说很幸运，因为他们击败了波斯人。结果来了一个老师刚刚讲这个很长的名字哦，菲迪皮德斯的士兵。It's really hard to say in Chinese as well.
It's probably harder, yeah.
Yeah, 所以古希腊他其实就是古希腊的雅典士兵，然后他有参加马拉松战役。那么其实马拉松的竞赛就是为了纪念这位传奇人物。
It says, stories say that Phidippides ran around 40 kilometers, there it is, to Athens, and that upon announcing the Greek victory, he dropped dead.
What?
Yeah, he died.
Okay.
He ran all that distance. He said, we won! And then he fell down and died. This sealed his place in history books, both as the messenger of this great victory at Marathon, and also as the first person to die while running a marathon.
OK， 那我们今天这边看到 language and focus， 我们赶快来看一下。那我们今天 language and focus 要讲的呢是连接词 that 引导名词子句当动词的受词这一种句型。那这个时候呢 that 可以省略哦。我们直接看一个句子 The teacher told us that 这个 that 是可以省略的。We had a test tomorrow and that 这个就不能省略咯 and that it would cover units 5 and 6 from our books。所以老师呢在告诉我们明天会有考试，考试内容会涵盖第5跟第6课。那么除了这个句型中的 that 不可以省略以外 that 子句当同位语的时候 that 也不可以省略。所以比如说 The fact that Lily broke up with her boyfriend has become a joke among the class.
All right, back to our article. So there we go. Phidippides was a messenger, and he ran all the way to Athens from Marathon to announce the great Greek victory over the Persians. When you announce something, you publicly state it or declare it. You make a big public, and we can use it as a noun, announcement. You make a big public announcement because you want everyone to know. You have big news and it's not a secret. You're not just telling your friends and your family. No, you're putting it out there. You might write it on your Facebook page or send out a tweet. Or if you're a company, you might have a press conference or the government will do that too. companies, by using advertising, are announcing new products and sales and special things. You want as many people as possible to hear this news, so you announce it. Here's an example. Andre and Paula have announced that they plan to get married next summer. Aw, maybe some of their close friends knew a while ago, but now they're telling everyone. They're probably going to start inviting people to the wedding and that kind of thing. So they made an announcement, or they announced their plans.
So announce 这边就是宣布、宣告，名词是 announcement. To make an announcement, make 我们会拿来当它的动词。For example, he made the announcement in a speech on television.
Okay, and what was Pheidippides announcing? Of course, the victory of the Greeks over the Persians. A victory is when you win. All right, so you play the game, you end up with more points than the other team. That is your victory. You have won. It is a victory. You can have a victory in a sports contest, in a competition. You could also have victory in a battle or in a war or something like that. So anytime you're in a competition and one team wins while the other team doesn't, the other team loses or whatever, the person who wins, the person who is in first place in the race, will have a victory. And we actually can call that person, instead of calling them a winner, we can call them the victor. All right, so victory. There we go. For example, as captain of the basketball team, Hugo led his team to victory last Friday. In other words, Hugo and his teammates on the basketball team won the game. So he announced this victory. Everyone, we won a marathon. We beat the Persians. And then he falls down. His heart stops, and someone goes over and goes, he's dead, because he dropped dead. That is when you die very suddenly and very unexpectedly. All right, so you're not sort of lying in hospital for months, getting sicker and sicker. You're walking around, maybe from a heart attack or something like that. You drop dead. You just suddenly die. Not because you were shot or, blown up or something like that. It's just everything's normal, and suddenly that person's lying on the ground and their heart isn't beating and they aren't breathing and they're dead. They suddenly drop dead. You don't even need suddenly. Just drop dead is to die very quickly and very unexpectedly.
So victory 就是胜利，然后这边的 drop dead 就是暴毙。所以传说中这个呢，菲迪皮德斯非常难讲的名字，他跑了大约40公里到达雅典这个地方，然后他在宣布胜利之后，他就倒地身亡了，然后就奠定了在历史书上的地位哦。
When the modern Olympics were started in 1896, so yeah, like 2,000 or more years later, this is the modern Olympics, the Olympics we think of, or just over 100 years ago. So when the modern Olympics were started in 1896, the organizers wanted an event that would be popular with everyone.
所以1896年呢，现代奥运会开始的时候，主办单位就是希望可以举办都可以受到大家欢迎的一个赛事哦，所以他们就选择马拉松啦。
And it says they, that's the organizers of the modern Olympics, they chose the marathon, this long running race. They chose the marathon possibly because it shows the challenging nature of the Olympics. Absolutely. It's extremely challenging. Remember, back in 1896, they didn't have to worry about television or anything like that. They just wanted people to be, playing sports against other countries for pride and glory and that kind of thing. And sure, it's a really, really difficult or challenging event, the marathon, so why not? And, it's kind of simple to put on. You just have to have people running around a lot. It says the race was to be 40 kilometers, the distance that Pheidippides ran. However, this changed to 42.195 kilometers for every Olympic Games from 1924. I wonder why they added the 2.195.
Yeah, why?
I don't know. Well, I think in miles, it might be 24 miles.
Oh, okay.
So maybe if you look at the mile number, it might be a nice number, a nice round number.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, but that's interesting. Anyway, it's
sense.
still around the same. If I can make it to 40 kilometers, I can probably make it to 42.
Of course.
It's still really far.
Yeah, 所以比赛赛程其实原来是40公里，也就是这一个菲利皮德斯他跑的距离哦。不过呢，从1924年开始呢，每一届奥运的总里程数就变成42.195公里啦。就像老师刚刚讲，可能因为从英里转换过来，它不会刚好是整数哦。So I think we have a for-you-track question to talk about.
What do you think is the most difficult sporting event? Please explain.
We talked about eating contests.
Oh, God,
so
yes.
Have you heard of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest?
Sure, Coney Island, yeah.
Yeah, I think that one is probably probably the hardest for me.
The guy, what's the record? Like 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's disgusting.
But I can never even finish
I'm
one.
going to accept that one as one that's probably the most disgusting sporting event. I would say the Tour de France.
I know that one.
Riding your bike for like 150 kilometers every day for 3 weeks.
It's crazy.
It's nuts. I don't know why people do this, but they do, and they're very healthy and good for them. All right, guys, that's all the time we have, but we'll have more about the marathon tomorrow, so run back and join us for that.
Vocabulary Review.
Observe. Mary observed that her son has been acting a lot more grown-up over the past year. Kilometer. Kilometer. The movie theater isn't far away. It's just 1 kilometer down this road. Steady. The river has provided a steady flow of fresh water to the people in this village for 30 years. Conflict. We asked Elizabeth not to come to the book club again because she always has conflicts with others. Announce. The store manager will announce the new sale prices for this holiday season on Friday. Victory. After many great soccer games, the World Cup victory in 2018 went to France.
智慧小补帖
Marathon. Grueling. Physical. Endurance. Lengthy.